right, what is up, Guff Gang? Week 3 in the books. We are done with 3 weeks of football. Zach Maziarz, James Reiner. Grown Up Fantasy Football is here to grow up your fantasy football league.
Mature.
And life.
We're here to mature your league.
Yes.
So today we're kind of mixing it up a little bit. We're not going to do each position breakdown every single player. I think we're taking too long. We don't really need to hit all the major players. We are going to be giving you a little bit of news, and we'll be giving you our top 5 players that impressed, our top 5 players that we're concerned about, and that you should be too, and then our top 5 waiver ads and top 5 trade targets, little waves and trades. And
real quick, next week we're going to call it top 5 impressed and top 5 distressed. Just thought of that, just on the spot.
Wow,
that sounds good to me.
Impressed and distressed.
We'll have to fire up the little sweet to get a new sting going, but
ooh, a little sweet,
making his return. So let's get into some news. News and updates. All right, so another week, another list of injuries, unfortunately. And starting off with the big one, Tariq Cohen probably has torn his ACL. Out for the year. You really hate to see that. He looked like a great gadget player, and his role started to increase a little bit more with the Bears' offense starting to click. But, yeah, he's out for the year, so most likely. It hasn't been confirmed, I don't think, yet, but we're recording this a day early. So if you've already seen that news, then hopefully you've probably already filled that roster spot.
Yeah.
Additionally, Chris Carson is dealing with a knee sprain in the game against the Cowboys. He went down, and it looked like one of the Cowboys defenders sort of rolled with his ankle through the tackle.
That was pretty dirty, honestly. Did y'all see that play?
Did.
That was pretty bad. It was like an alligator roll, and I think he's getting fined for it. But yeah, that definitely looked like it was purposeful.
Yeah, good. Mm-hmm. Good, he's getting fined.
Yeah, there's really no place for that. But Carson's, fortunately, looks like he avoided a big injury there. Looks like it's just a knee sprain, but he's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks. We'll get to that situation coming along. You got Dallas Goedert has an ankle injury. He did not return in the game. A lot of these players we're going to bring up didn't return in the game, but he's expected to miss some time. Haven't seen a real time frame yet, but if you're the Goddard owner and probably the Ertz owner, you want to watch out for that. D-Jax is dealing with the inevitable wide receiver hamstring injury that we've seen pop up so many times. He did not return. Is probably going to miss some time too. So we're not looking good for the Philly receiving core.
We need to make a charity or a foundation that donates hamstrings to the NFL this year. James, you've already donated 2 of yours.
I was willing to give Todd Gurley my ACL in 2018, and he declined my handwritten request. So.
One jacked leg and one just
You've
average leg.
That is pretty sad. So, yeah, D-Jax dealing with a hamstring. Chris Godwin and Mike Williams are both dealing with hamstring injuries as well. Godwin came out. Mike Williams came out. So keep an eye on that. Doesn't look good as what we've seen in the past and what we've seen this year for hamstring injuries. Doesn't look good, so keep an eye on that. John Brown is dealing with a calf injury. He did not return, but he may be playing week 4. You really want to monitor that if you're the John Brown, Stephon Diggs, or even the Cole Beasley owner. Another one, Jordan Reed. The 49ers just can't catch a break with any of their players. Jordan Reed injured his knee and ankle on I think he caught the touchdown on that play when he fell, or he missed it. Yeah. Well, makes sense. He got hurt. So he's probably going to be out next week and maybe more, depending on the severity of that injury. So watch out for that. Russell Gage, the big waiver wire pickup from this past week, ended up with a head injury. Didn't return to the game, and he's at least questionable week 4. And the same injury to Deontay Johnson, who's dealing with a toe injury before their match with the Texans, and he's probably going to be questionable as well for Week 4. So watch out for that. And lastly, Michael Pittman Jr. has an ankle injury with the Colts. Didn't return to that game, so keep an eye on that. Looks like they're getting pretty thin at wide receiver in Indianapolis. But that's all the injuries. That's a lot. I hate to say it, but
That's all.
you really hate to see that. But a couple of news notes. Nick Foles was named the starter over Mitch Trubisky. He came in, I think, around the second or third quarter in their game against the Falcons and led them to the inevitable comeback against Atlanta. I think we're all used to that by now. I know I am.
3 times. Wow.
Yep. Hopefully,
I told,
third time's the charm.
My wife, we're going to do a Halloween haunted house this year, and we're going to get all of the people we invite to dress up as Falcons players, and all the hired actors in the haunted house are going to dress up as either Patriots, Cowboys, or Bears players, and it'll be just scary.
God.
Joey
This is
does
just
not
awful.
like
Yeah.
that.
No, I don't.
You're invited, Joe. Wear your Julio jersey.
I'm probably not coming to that one. Additionally, so you'll see Foles start next week, but, who knows with the Bears. Additionally, Doug Peterson does not plan to bench Carson Wentz. But could we see an uptick in Jalen Hurts' role within that offense? They've lost a lot of receivers. Maybe Jalen comes in for a couple of Taysom Hill type plays. Who knows?
I think they should. I don't know if they will.
Yeah.
Who knows? Wentz does not look good, though.
I wanted to say, I saw a stat earlier today. The NFC East division is the only division without a team over 500 on the year so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You had to think about that for a second.
We have a chance.
Yeah. It's anybody's division.
The Cowboys look like the best team in that division, though, by a long shot.
But it is strictly their offense that has to win the games.
Yeah,
Probably
but when
so.
they play Washington and we can't score, it's not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And lastly, Bill O'Brien says he is not stressed over the 0-3 start. Now, granted, they've played some of the class of the AFC in their 3 games. However, Deshaun Watson says we are what we are. Which I think that about
Not
sums it up.
stressed after losing 3 games. Yeah, right. You lose 2 more, you
Sure.
might get fired.
Who
Get out.
knows with the Texans? They're a mess, but that's going to do it for the news. And now it's time to get to some top 5 players that impressed.
The week that was.
All right, so here are our top 5 players that impressed us, and this is from least impressive to most impressive. Do you want to go one at a time, or you want to just read them all off, guys? What do you think?
Let's go one at a time. Let's
One
take
at
our
a
time with this while still being very self-conscious of time.
Let's do. So the least most impressive is Joe Burrow, quarterback from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Least most impressive.
That's right. How else do you want me to say it?
Number 5, we have
I love
Joe
it.
Burrow.
That's another way you could say it.
The least most impressive.
Hey, we're using grown-up words here.
I like it. No, I
Yeah.
like it. Keep it going, man.
Tell me what you like about Joe Burrow then, Zach.
I was very least impressed with Joe Burrow, but very impressed. I honestly, he is very impressive. He actually is a very elite talent. I just wish his line could block for him. He was sacked 8 times. But the pass attempts are there. He's got great receivers coming into the fold. You got T. Higgins erupting this game. Tyler Boyd's looking great. AJ Green, if they can connect to some of those targets, he is a little bit older of a talent, but he's still always been an elite receiver. So I think it's all there for him. I just think his line needs to start blocking for him. But yeah, I was very impressed, and definitely good things to come with him.
Completely agree. He looks great. He's playing at a high level. The only problem is the offensive line. Now, do you guys think he is a must-roster QB, or is he still a streamer?
I would like to roster him. I don't know how tough his schedule is going forward, but the amount of pass attempts he is receiving, whether it is tough or not, looks like he's going to make plays. He's going to have a high volume if they are down or if it's a close game, to where he could still kind of save your day. So, yeah, I'd have him on my roster. Now, granted, if it comes over a good skill player over him, I'd probably stream him. But
no, I agree. I'd roster him too. He looks good. He's got good receivers working with him. Didn't really see a lot from Drew Sample this game, but hey, we're not talking about Drew Sample. We're talking about Joe Burrow. So, yeah, looked great. Looked great overall. So, Joe Burrow is number 5 on that list. Number 4 would be Mike Davis, running back for the Carolina Panthers. Really put the team on his fantasy back this week.
Do we think CMC is actually that good, or do you think it's just the Panthers' run game? Because he looked pretty good in the receiving work.
Yeah, CMC is clearly a elite talent, but Mike Davis, any running back who's going to get the opportunity Mike Davis is going to get you fantasy games where he produces. So that's what Mike Davis will do for you. So if you're the CMC owner and you picked up Mike Davis, I think you're happy going forward, knowing that you can rely on him to get you points, fill in for CMC.
Now, I do think, I know everyone's saying Reggie Bonifon could get some more carries. Curtis Samuel, they're trying to mix into the fold. But I think Mike Davis, especially with just the limited amount of time that CMC is out, is a great option to fill in for him. Maybe picked him up and you don't even have CMC. Just because he is that vet, he understands how football works in the NFL. I don't think they're going to stray away from him. And, all of a sudden next game you'll see Reggie Bonifon come away with 20 touches. I think it's going to be him until CMC comes back.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, agreed. 8 for 49 and a touchdown in the air, too. So really good for your PPR leagues with Mike Davis coming in at number 4. Number 3, Alan Lazard, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, came alive on Sunday night. What do you guys think of the Lazard King?
He is looking like, when Adams is there, that number 2 that they have needed. He had, I think, close to 150 receiving yards, just a monster game from him. And I think when Adams comes back from this injury he's got, I think he still is going to be relevant. I think Rodgers has been trying to figure out, okay, what's this receiver that I can go to besides Devontae Adams? And Alan Lazard is just kind of showing us he is that number 2 that can be relied upon. So I think he beat MVS out for that role, and I think it's him for sure.
Lazard's a good wide receiver. He's a big guy, 6'5". He's a must start, I think, even with Devontae Adams in there. Aaron Rodgers is playing great football so far, and these wide receivers are going to continue to produce.
Yeah, producing against the Saints is a big step up for him. Very nice with Alan Lazard. Coming in at number 2, James Robinson, running back from the Jacksonville Jaguars, put on a show on Thursday night, the game that we all forgot about apparently. Do you guys remember anything about James Robinson from this game?
Very vividly, yeah.
It's all coming back now.
What happened, James?
He looks great. You probably picked him up off waivers in most leagues, and he's going to be probably a high-end RB2 for most 12-man leagues. He's producing. He's getting the bulk of the carries on this team. He's catching the football. Everything you want from a running back.
Yeah, he's looking phenomenal, and he looks even better at the price you paid for him. You literally got to pick him up off of waivers week 1. Everyone's like, oh, let me pick up Chris Thompson. Let me draft him just because he's going to get the targets at least, and maybe he'll get even more than that. And James Robinson's getting the groundwork, and on top of that, he's getting the passing work too. So he's looking really good, like a runner also. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he looks like that next Austin Eckler, maybe not as a runner, but just as a undrafted free agent who gets the opportunity and comes in and really shows how talented he is.
Agreed. He looks great. Hopefully he can maintain it. And coming in at our number 1 player that impressed us the most is Justin Jefferson, wide receiver from the Minnesota Vikings. I think we've kind of seen this coming, but here's the game where he finally just exploded. Guys, what do you think about Justin Jefferson?
Now, Joey, you called this, actually. You did say, yeah, I remember, and seeing his big game. I will say I am very impressed with him, and he is a phenomenal, great, and talented wide receiver. I want to see more games like this. The targets were definitely there. The yardage was there. However, he had a 71-yard catch and run for a touchdown. So a lot of his points did come from that, but still the targets and yards were there even without that factoring in. So I want to see more of this. I'm definitely trying to pick him up. I just don't know, probably like a flex option, but I want to see a little bit more before I'm able to fully trust him. I think, the last 2 games, he only had about 3 targets. So this is a big step up, but I want to see this consistently.
Mm-hmm. And, we saw both Diggs and Thielen be productive for the Vikings, and it looks like Jefferson's going to slide into that Diggs role. So pick him up. I'm with Zach, though. Don't trust him as your wide receiver 1 yet, but wait and see. I think he's going to be good this year.
Yeah. One thing I will say, though, that is kind of helps to trust him is that they really have not been using their tight ends that much this year. So it's looking like there is the opportunity for, the Thielen and Justin Jefferson to go off here. So,
yeah, we could see it. He's a great talent. It looks like Kirk Cousins got right this game and targeted Justin Jefferson 9 times. So maybe it's there. So a few other names we could bring up. Tom Brady he got right in this game. Rex Burkhead exploded out of nowhere with 31 points. I don't know if we see that happening again. Jimmy Graham had another explosion game. Granted, it's against Atlanta, so be that as it will. T. Higgins had a nice game too coming in, and Keenan Allen really showed out this week. Oh, Jeff Wilson Jr. also had a big day. So, yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts on any of those players real quick? Any quick thoughts?
Just Keenan Allen. We said this. Just Herbert, he improves the fantasy value of everyone on that team. Eckler had a big game. Keenan Allen had a big game. So, I think you're happy if you have Chargers going forward.
Keenan Allen had 19 targets for 13 receptions. That's insane. I think everyone is joining together that Tyrod Taylor, when he actually is fully healthy, does not start again, because you would not see Keenan Allen having that many targets with Tyrod Taylor in there. Nope. You would not see Austin Eckler having 11 receptions in a game with Tyrod Taylor in there. So please keep Justin Herbert in there.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I was really big on Tyrod before the season started and everything, but yeah, I was wrong. Herbert looks great, and he's making all your Chargers blossom in that offense. So I think that's going to do it for the top 5 players that impressed. But James, tell us who are the top 5 players we're distressed about.
Will do. Let's start with number 5, Melvin Gordon. We have 5.8 fantasy points in half-point PPR, 26 rush yards on 8 carries, 4 of 6 targets for 12 yards, no touchdowns. Now, I'm worried about Melvin Gordon, because without Drew Lock under center, without Courtland Sutton stretch the field, this is a bad football team to me. They're going to stack the box. Why wouldn't you? Make Driscoll throw the ball. That's not good for Melvin Gordon. And it looks like Lock's going to be out for another 3 weeks, so I think you're going to have to grind it out until he gets back probably. So I'm worried going forward. What's your guys' thoughts?
I think the silver lining here is the 6 targets. So I know he got off to a very slow start in this game, and then game script kind of leaned away from him being able to do anything on the rushing on the ground. But he still had 6 targets, which is good. A lot of times when you have kind of an inexperienced QB coming in, they will dump off to the running back. Maybe they lean on the running back a little bit heavier. But that silver lining also comes with a grain of salt, because Philip Lindsay, I think, is being shown that he actually could play this Thursday. So, Melvin Gordon didn't have the best game. There's a chance that, he could get some more targets and stuff. But at the same time, Philip Lindsay's coming back in. So we kind of see more of that split backfield that we were anticipating seeing, but probably heavier, maybe 60-40 Melvin Gordon's way as opposed to the other way. So, yeah, pretty concerning, but I don't know.
I'm kind of with James. I think they're going to stack the box. Why wouldn't you stack the box and make Jeff Driscoll beat you? So, yeah, and even with Philip Lindsay coming back, it's just going to take from his workload.
Now, he is playing the Jets, then New England and Miami next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
could have a decent game in 2 of those.
Yeah, that should lend the way a little bit better. And I really do think with his receiving work, it does save his game a little bit too. So, at any given week, if it's a game like this, he could still have a couple of good targets, maybe a receiving touchdown to where it still saves his week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Number 4, Joshua Kelley. 4.2 fantasy points, 43 yards on 8 carries, 2 receptions for 9 yards, lost a fumble, no touchdowns. In my opinion, I think we overhyped this guy. This is a backup running back for the Chargers. It's Eckler's backfield, in my opinion. I don't think he really has any value unless Eckler gets hurt. And then maybe it was game script. The Chargers did fall early, and they had to pass a lot. But I'm probably avoiding putting him in my lineup. I think you can probably find a better option.
The thing about Josh Kelley is the fumble. That's not you. I mean, yeah, obviously it's bad for fantasy, but it also kind of hurts his stock within the team. We've seen Chris Carson kind of have a case of the fumbles, but he's still been able to produce and hasn't really gotten benched for it for a significant amount of time. I don't like that, seeing that from a rookie, and Anthony Lynn being a former running back as well. It could go either way, but I don't think we totally overhyped him, but yeah, I'm a little concerned about this game. I mean, but it didn't go. The game didn't go the way that we thought it would.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was starting him as like an RB2 or anything like that. I think it was okay. He could be a viable flex. He actually averaged over 5 yards a carry in this game, so his efficiency was really good. If you take away the fumble he had, which that like Joey's saying, he could be in the doghouse. That'd be 6 fantasy points, and then I believe he actually had it was very close to a touchdown reception, like towards the end of the game. But I think Justin Herbert just overthrew him just a little bit, or he couldn't connect for whatever reason. So if that actually connected, then that's a 12-point fantasy day right there. But at the same time, I don't know exactly when Justin Jackson might come back. Joey bring up a good point with, the fumbling. Haven't really seen it any other time this season besides just this once, but you never know what's going to happen. We don't know if Justin Jackson and him will be more of a rotation type thing as a second back. But yeah, with Austin Eckler having a big day like this, it does kind of push the reins back a little bit on Joshua Kelley.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have at number 3, AJ Green. 6.1 fantasy points, 5 of 6 targets for only 36 yards. Previous week, he had three catches on 13 targets for 29 yards. Week 1, he had 5 catches on 9 targets for 51 yards. This is so freaking inefficient. I mean, this is a problem with the wide receiver. Burrow's playing good football. We said that earlier. He's getting so many targets. He needs to come down with these. He's not getting separation. He said himself he's still getting used to game action.
Which is that good? Is that good to hear from him? Is that something that we actually want, that he is actually acknowledging, hey, look, I'm rusty. I took a year off. Still getting used to game action. Like, is that something where we see him, okay, after a couple more weeks, he does kind of get back to some of those better numbers and actually completing some of those targets he's getting, or do we just kind of think, okay, that's not a good sign?
I just think it's an excuse, in my opinion. I think he's a 32-year-old wide receiver, and he's lost a step.
It could be an age thing. We've seen him be the dominant AJ Green for years, and this is kind of the first year where he's not actively injured, and he looks inefficient. I mean, this game he was, 5 catches on 6 targets, which is not too inefficient. However, he's only for 36 yards. And with Joe Burrow throwing the ball, 31 completions. I'm concerned about AJ Green. I think maybe he's lost a step from these injuries. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not dropping him.
No.
It
is concerning, though. Like, you almost want a piece of the receiving options from Burrow, just as much as he is throwing and as good as he is doing, you do kind of want a piece, but it is concerning because I think beginning of the season, we kind of saw AJ Green and Joe Burrow's relationship as, okay, that veteran is going to be a safety blanket for Burrow, especially starting out, just so he can kind of get his bearings. And now that Boyd's doing very well, T. Higgins had an explosive game. They've been getting their tight ends involved. I think he might shift away from that safety blanket of AJ Green, where, we saw those 9 targets, 13 targets, and we start seeing only 5, only 4, 6, stuff like that. So, yeah, it is concerning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you play him as a flex maybe from now on until he proves otherwise.
He has had some bad, pretty tough corner matchups. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe some of those targets they are able to capitalize on. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Number 2, we have Leonard Fournette, 3.2 fantasy points. What the hell is going on here? 7 carries for 15 yards, 2 catches, 7 yards. He sucked. Ronald Jones is much more productive.
James, stop beating around the bush. What do you really think?
Yeah.
I was high on him after last week, and now I don't know what to do with him.
Yeah, we all thought this would be the game where Leonard Fournette officially takes over the Tampa Bay backfield. He logged 6 less carries than Ronald Jones in this game. And even on his carries, inefficiency against a very depleted Broncos D-line. Jarrell Casey's out now. No Von Miller. What is going on with Fournette? And only 2 targets. He caught them both, but, it's only 2. What is going on with Fournette in this Tampa backfield?
Yeah, I actually wouldn't be opposed to you riding the entire Tampa Bay backfield as a concern, because honestly, this just, you lose trust in anybody. Okay, I could understand if it's like, yeah, Leonard Fournette hasn't looked that great. Last week he looked awesome. So it's just like, I don't understand. It's just going to keep teeter-tottering back and forth. Bruce Arians is just going to play us like this all year long, and you're never going to know who to start between Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. So as unfortunate as it is, maybe he'll have some good games here and there, but it's just going to be hard to predict.
Yeah, very frustrating. He has the Chargers at home next week. Is he in your guys' starting lineup?
No.
Probably not, no.
Dang, yeah. All right, number 1, T.Y. Hilton, 6.7 fantasy points, 3 targets, 3 catches, 52 yards. I think he needs to get it done. Week 1, he had 7.3 fantasy points. Week 2, 4.3. He's getting a good amount of targets. He's even come out and said he's not playing his best football right now. What do you guys think about this situation?
I honestly thought he was going to ball out this week because I think he tweeted that his grandma called him and said he has not looked the same, and that's not her saying grandbaby on the field. So I was like, wow, this is going to be a monster game by TY. But yeah, we saw the exact same type stuff, only 3 targets. Luckily they were for a decent chunk of yardage each target. Otherwise he would have just had a dud day. But yeah, I'm concerned, very concerned actually. But on the flip side, we're seeing a lot of injuries to the wide receiver core for the Colts. But that still doesn't make me feel that great. I still feel like they are a run-first team. Rivers hyper targets his running backs and his tight ends. T.Y. Hilton does not really look that great. So, yeah, I am pretty concerned.
Yeah, with Phillip Rivers and Frank Reich, yes, I think they're still a run-first team, but Rivers throws the ball a ton. He threw 21 passes against the Jets. A plus matchup, probably a plus quarterback. He should be doing more with this. The call from Grandma didn't work. Maybe we need to get Granddad calling this time. I don't know, but yeah, I'm a little concerned about T.Y. This is not the same T.Y. we've seen.
Now, the Colts defense did dominate this game. They had 2 defensive touchdowns. That might have something to do with it, game script.
Right.
I'm rolling with T.Y. again next week, though. I think you have to against the Bears that just got shredded.
Yeah,
well,
but you almost think, though, like all these games, you're like, okay, this is the week that T.Y. is going to go off. Yeah. And, it was the Jets, so they had no point in having to run the ball. Or I'm sorry, no point in having to pass and like come from behind or anything like that. They were ahead very early. But they have the Bears, the Browns, Cincinnati. all of those games look like they could, for the most part, be kind of the same, where they get a lead possibly early and don't really have to rely that much on the passing game to come from behind. So I don't know. You might not see it within the next few weeks still. And by that point, it's kind of like, okay, you can't really get rid of him for anything because he hasn't done anything all year. You don't want to drop him because he is a good, talented receiver. But yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, that's if he doesn't do it in the next couple of weeks, that's half your fantasy season. And you've drafted him to be a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2.
Exactly.
All right. That's all we got for our concerned players. Let's move on to waives and trades. What's that?
Waves and trades.
All right. So for waves and trades, all right, so let's go through honorable mentions first. So we have as our honorable mentions, so definitely still try and pick them up if you've got the roster spots. We have Dalton Schultz and Brandon Aiyuk. What are y'all's thoughts on these honorable mentions?
I'm not dropping a ton of fab or waiver priority on either of these guys. Joey, what do you think?
Yeah, I still think Schultz is a good ad. He had 6 targets against Seattle. If Hayden Hurst is still there, though, I'd say he's about even with Hurst, honestly. With all the targets Schultz is getting, Hurst only had one catch for 1 touchdown. He gave you 1 for 1 yard too. So
Schultz had 6 targets, 4 receptions for 48 yards. He played against the Seahawks, which they're actually pretty good against the tight end this year. Next week he gets the Browns. Their defense has not been that great against tight ends. So, if you're looking to stream tight ends, if he hasn't been picked up in your league yet, I think next week you could definitely play him. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, with the Cowboys, with their passing offense, I think as volatile as it is, I would personally like a piece of it. So,
Let me ask you something, Zach. You spent 37 fab on Schultz.
I did.
Are you a little disappointed in that after this week?
Not really, no. With 6 targets for a tight end, I am pretty okay with that. Looking at some of the top tier tight ends this week, we haven't actually recording this episode. We haven't seen Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce play yet. So barring their performances, there wasn't a lot of huge tight end games. So I could see this being like a down week. Like I said, it was the Seahawks. They're pretty good against tight end. I could see him having a pretty good game next week. So now next week, if he doesn't do anything, yes, I'll be severely disappointed. All right. Any thoughts on Brandon Aiyuk?
Yeah, Aiyuk is interesting. They don't have a lot of weapons right now. And Aiyuk got 8 targets, 3 carries, got himself a touchdown. Yes, it was the Giants, but he's a nice one to roster. Maybe I'm not going out. I'm not on a limb to start him, but I might roster him. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 to 10 fabs.
Yeah.
Yep. He seems really temporary. It seemed like they tried to scheme him in a lot just with all the injuries. When we have Raheem Mostert come back, Jimmy G, Deebo Samuel's going to be coming back. I think he might have, some schemed runs, maybe a couple of receptions, but yeah, I don't see him having the kind of game he did. So I think he's a very temporary pickup. You could stash him on your bench, but yeah, I wouldn't spend too much on him.
Okay,
all right.
Real quick. If you're rostering Deebo Samuel, do you think Aiyuk is going to bite into Samuel's, different play calls, his runs, his catches?
It's possible. I don't know. The wide receivers aren't usually the biggest fantasy producers there anyways, so...
True.
Yeah, I know people are trying to get receivers from the 49ers, but I'm not huge on 49ers receivers, not named George Kittle at tight end, just because, you've got Jimmy G thrown to them. They run first. So, I'm not looking into seeing a whole lot of production from them. So,
sure. Just a temp check.
All right. Oh, yeah. No. Definitely.
Yeah.
Always get a temp check. All right. So at number 5 for the top 5 waiver ads, we have T. Higgins. What y'all think?
Yeah,
Uh,
had him. I'd like to
Joey's
add him.
eyes are
I'm
about
for
to
it.
bulge, and James is about to throw up.
I mean, well, I think we've talked enough about him. Or have we? No, he's not in our. He was one of our other mentions for the top 5 that impressed. Yeah, he impressed. It's a high-powered offense. They're throwing a lot. Looks like Higgins is taking some of those A.J. Green targets. I like him. I wouldn't go out of my way to spend, probably, more than 10 fab or 15 fab on him. But, yeah, I would try and add him. I'd throw a little his way.
I'm not as high on him as you are. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed. AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. I'm not interested in him. If you think he's worth 5 to 10 fab, I think that's fine. But
yeah,
I'd go. I think he is someone like we kind of talked about Brandon Aiyuk, where you're kind of holding him on your bench to see how he does and if he breaks out. Because we don't have a big enough sample size right now to say, yeah, pick him up, spend this much fab on him, and put him in your lineup immediately. Unfortunately, we have one game to kind of go off of with him where he did great. So we'll go from there and see. Number 4, Alan Lazard. And I might have him ranked a little too low here on the list. What do you guys think?
if he's available, must add.
Yeah, definitely.
I would at least 50 is what I would drop to get him. If I had
Really?
to. Yeah.
Wow.
For
Is this
sure.
a Naeem Hines situation where you're dropping 80?
If
Don't put
Hines
words
is
in
worth
his mouth,
80,
Joey.
then Lazard is worth 100.
All of it.
All of it.
Lazard.
Am I able
Lazard's
to
a
put
good
real
ad.
money on him?
Yeah.
He's been owned in our league ever since the
Yeah.
draft. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably not going to find him, but if he's out there, go grab him.
I think he is. I think he is only about 21% rostered right now. So he's actually out there in a lot of leagues. So definitely pick him up. One thing I will say, he did have a monster game, and he is a great wide receiver. But as talented as Aaron Rodgers is, he is also very good at kind of getting the ball spread out and spread around to different receivers. So we'll see what happens. He might not have big monster games like that. I don't know if I'd spend 50 fab on him, but definitely would want to roster him because he is looking like that number 2 when Adams comes back and could definitely get some good work with as good as Rodgers is looking. All right, so number 3, and this one's coming off the back of the Chris Carson injury, slated to miss time. We have Carlos Hyde. Now, I would probably flip Lazard and Hyde right here and have Hyde at number 4, Lazard at number 3. But what do y'all think of Carlos Hyde as a pickup?
you got to add the backup running back for Chris Carson. Does it look like he's going to get the bulk of the carries? Is he going to be the guy?
I think so. And he honestly, like his run type and just the kind of player he is able to handle a full workload, kind of like Chris Carson is. So, Chris Carson, I think, is a better talent for sure, but Carlos Hyde actually is able to be that 3-down back still.
Yeah, conventional wisdom says to go with the Seattle running back because they're a run-first team. It's been that way in the past. However,
Maybe not this year, yeah.
Maybe not this year. But, I mean, yeah, Carlos Hyde only had 1 target and 1 catch. I think he's talented enough to catch out of the backfield. And granted, he didn't really come in until Carson got hurt. I kind of think Hyde should go a little bit higher just because I like that offense. But, yeah, you got to add him if you're the Chris Carson owner. And if you're looking for a spot running back to play, if you've got like Raheem Mostert or someone who's out right now but could come back a little bit later, yeah, Carlos Hyde's probably a good pickup.
Yeah, I think I had.
Fab?
How much? Depending on how much you have left, I'd say maybe 15.
Really? I'd
Yeah.
go higher than that.
It depends on which we might not know based on Carson's injury how much time he's going to miss. Mm-hmm. But this could just be kind of a spot, you're filling in for 2 weeks with Carlos Hyde. So it really would depend on how much time Carson is going to miss. And we might not know that once, waivers actually clear. So I think that's why I had him a little bit lower on the list, because at number 2, we have Myles Gaskin. And Myles Gaskin is actually looking like their go-to back right now. So that's kind of why I have Carlos Hyde ranked below him, because that could just be a very temporary thing. But Myles Gaskin actually does look very legit. He looks like, they brought in Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, and so far he is looking like he is kind of top of the throne there. So what do y'all think of Myles Gaskin?
You gotta get him. He was in our show last week. We said he was a waiver ad. Now was the week to get him. He only went for like 5 fab in our league, I think. Now I think you're going to have to pay up to get him. He like Zach said, he's the guy. He's the back there. That's who you want.
Yeah.
The only thing that scares me with Gaskin is the Jordan Howard vulture. He vultured that touchdown that should have been Gaskin's. Gaskin put in the work on that drive through the air and on the ground, and here comes Jordan Howard to take your touchdown away, which I don't like. And I don't know how much we'll see of that, but it's something to remember when you spend that fab on Myles Gaskin.
Yeah.
If he's available.
There's a lot of running backs that happens to. Unfortunately, maybe we can get like a new trend where football coaches in the NFL are also fantasy players, or we could become football coaches, because it doesn't seem like they care about our fantasy teams, because they will do that on most teams where one running back will dominate the drive, and then once they get inside the 5, they bring in a backup and they get the touchdown. So I wouldn't be too worried about that, because I think that happens with a lot of teams. So, yeah, Myles Gaskin is definitely a go-to. And our number 1 top waiver ad of the week is Justin Jefferson. Had a huge day like we talked about this last week. He looks like he is the number 2 wide receiver on the team behind Thielen. So what do y'all think of Justin Jefferson as the top ad this week?
Yeah, we've already spoken about him a lot. I think, he's dominant. Well, that stat line is dominant. And I remember him from college being dominant. It's the only thing that worries me is Kirk Cousins is a little volatile. But Justin Jefferson's filling into that Stephon Diggs role. I think he can expand even more in that role that he has right now. Great ad. He's the top ad for me, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would actually rather have Lazard on my team, but you have to pick up Jefferson. I don't know how much fab he's going to go for. It's kind of a hard prediction.
I actually think I might agree with you, James, because Lazard has for sure a better QB passing to him, and he is a lot more proven. So yeah. But how much Joey would you spend on Justin Jefferson this week?
10 to 15.
James,
I don't think 10 to 15 would get him. I think you'd have to spend more.
It may not, but I'd probably go to 20 maybe.
I could see with the 10 to 15 if you are hesitant, because he could be one of those where we do have to kind of wait and see a little bit. You could throw him in your roster this week, but there's the chance he doesn't do much and he goes back down to those 3 targets that he had week 1 and week 2. But yeah, I think someone will probably spend up a little bit more to get him. So, James, what do you think?
I could see him going for 40. That's the absolute
talent's
highest.
there. The talent.
I think you could win them for 30.
We are seeing. Possible. I mean, you got to factor in all the injuries. We got Chris Godwin out with a hamstring now. You have, Cortland Sutton out for the year. AJ Brown still hasn't come back. So we have some big wide receiver injuries where, people could be trying to fill that spot where, something like 40 would be the only thing to get them. So could definitely see that. All right, awesome. Well, that's all for our top 5 waiver ads of the week. So next, we are going to move into our top 5 trade targets. All right, here we go. Top 5 trade targets. So we are going to do a couple of buy lows and sell highs, okay? Does that sound good with you guys?
It sounds excellent.
Yes.
Beautiful. All right. So first off, we're going to do some honorable mentions real quick. So we have one honorable mention for a buy low candidate in Deshaun Watson. What do y'all think of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a great quarterback. If you can buy him low, buy him low.
Yeah. I think the offense is looking better, even though he hasn't had the best fantasy production. I think the receiving core, who he's passing to, it's looking better than it did week 1 when we all audibly and visually and emotionally noticed that they were lacking that wide receiver 1. And on top of that, he's played the Ravens and the Steelers, who have the 2 best Ds possibly in the league. Next, he's got Minnesota, Jags, Titans, and Packers. So I think he could have a big day. I think people are probably disappointed in what they've seen and gotten from him so far. So I could think you could buy low on him right now.
Yep.
All right, another honorable mention. I think that's actually all the honorable mentions we had. Good old Deshaun. Very honorable. All right, so third buy low candidate. So we got 3 buy lows and we have 2 sell highs. So Darius Slayton as a buy low. What do y'all think?
I can't talk much to this because I think you could buy him low from me. I'd be willing to trade him for something.
Yeah.
I don't have faith in the Giants' offense.
I kind of don't either. The 7 targets is what's nice.
Yep.
For Slayton, but yeah, it's not a good offense.
It's not. It's looking like something or someone has to emerge from it, though, which is kind of why we included him here, because he did have 7 targets, which is team high right there. He is a great player. He had a monster game week 1, so we'll see. Right now, you could definitely buy him low, and it really is one of those risk-reward things. He could actually emerge as, okay, this is the go-to target. They look a little bit better, and he is the bright spot of that offense. So, yeah, you're buying low for something that could potentially turn into a great investment.
Yep.
All right. Second buy low is Joe Mixon. And this one is almost like a beware buy low, because once you buy low, he almost becomes your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead, James.
Go ahead. No, you got it.
I mean, I was gonna say I don't know. It doesn't look like they're a pass first team, is what the Bengals are slowly morphing into. Maybe not so slowly. And Mixon isn't seeing a whole lot of work. Gio Bernard is still hanging around. The mustachioed Bernard.
Man, that is
still
one
in there.
mustache. Wow.
Yeah, he's put mine to shame.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know about Joe Mixon. He's incredibly talented, but like you said, he kind of becomes your problem there. Would you be willing to sell him again after another low game?
I just think it's tough because you probably still have to trade something decent for him. Is it going to be worth that return?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to get rid of him and are trying to kind of jump before the ship sinks. But, we saw this last year a little bit where year was basically over for them and they decided let's lean run heavy and Joe Mixon goes off. So it is a buyer with beware, though, because if you do get him, you feel obligated to start him and he could possibly just continue having 6-7 day fantasy point days for you. So it is very scary for sure. But probably the lowest you can get him right now. And our top buy low candidate, David Montgomery. What do y'all think of this?
Go after him with Tariq Cohen out.
Yeah.
Go get him.
I think he's a great talent. And yes, with Tariq out, it's even the star shines even brighter for David Montgomery. 3 targets, 2 catches against Atlanta, and 14 for 45 on the ground. Not the numbers we had hoped for Montgomery, I don't think, but I still think he's incredibly talented. Yeah, I would definitely try to go after him.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you could probably ride on the back of a QB change and him only having a 6-point day. So maybe use those to your advantage, try and get him a little bit lower. But yeah, that's all for our buy lows. So now our sell highs. We only have 2 sell highs. We do have an honorable mention, and James Robinson had a huge day, looking like the go-to back in Jacksonville. So, we maybe don't necessarily recommend selling him, but at the same time, everyone's got a good price. So if you can get a good turnaround on someone you picked up off the waivers week 1, by all means, go for it.
Would you trade James Robinson for David Montgomery?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I would.
It's close.
That's tough,
I don't
though.
know.
It almost seems like they're the same back, like same type of team. But I think I would still.
We've seen it with Montgomery. We haven't necessarily seen it just yet from James Robinson sustained. But yeah, I'd be willing to.
One with
sell him.
Montgomery too. Who's the backup? Like James Robinson at least has Chris Thompson to steal some receiving work. Like now that Tariq Cohen, had you told me Tariq Cohen's still playing, he didn't get injured, I'd say no, I'd keep James Robinson. Now that he's injured, yeah, I would do that just because there's no one competing with him. And for James Robinson, although it's very limited, he does have Chris Thompson. So, All right. But our number 2 sell high candidate, we have Devin Singletary. James, I know you disagreed on this candidate. What you think?
I actually don't disagree.
Oh,
I think when Moss comes back, it's going to go back to what it was. So if you could sell him high right now, I'd go for it. Now I'm not giving him away for. I wouldn't trade him for someone like I don't know, Fournette. I wouldn't do that. But
yeah.
Probably not.
You at least, with as fiery as this offense is, you at least know you're going to get production even if he's splitting. With the Bucks, it's always just up in the air kind of. So, but yeah, Devin Singletary had a good game. He had about 14 or so half PPR fantasy points. Went 13 for 71 on the ground rushing, and then 4 for 50 receiving. So
barely missed the end zone too.
Yeah, I think now is the time because Zach Moss was out. Now is the time to get a good return on him, sell high. Josh Allen does kind of vulture some of that goal line work with his rushing ability. So, yeah, by all means, I think right now is sell high. Joey, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of thought that Devin Singletary was a little more of the talented back. I'm a little more high on Singletary than people may be, but at the same time, Josh Allen has taken away that goal line work, which Singletary can still have a good game without it, but when Zach Moss comes back, he's still going to eat into the carries. So, yeah, I'd still be trying to sell Devin Singletary.
Yep.
Until he comes back, though, I think he's going to be a very productive back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
start him until Zach Moss comes back for sure. All right. Our top sell high candidate is Todd Gurley. He had 2 good games so far this season, but do y'all think we should sell high on him?
Yeah, I would. Name value, too.
Oh, yeah.
I think he'd get a good return.
Yeah. I think there's a... You go ahead, Joey.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's too many mouths to feed in that Atlanta passing attack. They aren't really utilizing him that much in the passing attack either. And like I said, with the 2 good games that he has had a touchdown in, you can use that and sell him high right now. But yeah, overall, don't really trust him. Don't really trust Atlanta, honestly. So yeah, I think now is as good a time as ever to use that name value, like James said, use the touchdowns that he has scored and the points that he has scored to sell high on him.
So the thing with Todd Gurley, though, is in this game against Chicago, against a good defense, he had 14 carries for 80 yards and 1 touchdown. A good game by all standards. Good, not great. Not the Todd Gurley of old. However, Julio is out right now, and their upcoming schedule is Green Bay, Carolina, Minnesota, Detroit, and Carolina. If you're going to sell Todd Gurley, sell him for something good.
Yeah.
Because that's a really attractive slate. And yes, Atlanta is a pass-first, pretty much, offense. And if they get a lead, then they'll probably wither it away by giving the ball to Todd Gurley. And that's not to say that Todd Gurley is bad. That's just to say Atlanta knows how to lose a lead. But these are good matchups coming up for Todd Gurley. So if you're going to sell Todd Gurley, I'd sell him for something high and use that matchup as some bait.
Yeah, and I do think Todd Gurley finishes the season as a low-end RB2, so I don't think he has a bad season. But if you can get something better than that, go for it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. For sure. Awesome. Well, that is our top 5 trade targets right there. So, there we go.
Yeah, I think that kind of wraps up this episode of Grown Up Fantasy Football. Be sure to leave a comment below and leave a like, and you know what? Subscribe too. We're still in need of subscriptions. They are the lifeblood of the Grown Up Fantasy Football podcast show. Whatever.
We're dying.
Zach needs it.
I'm dying, guys.
Be sure and follow us on Twitter at GrownUpFF and check us out on Facebook.com/GrownUpFF. We are everywhere you listen to podcasts now. iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon's got podcasts now. We're there. There's things coming in the works, so look out for that. But Yeah, that's going to do it. So go like and subscribe, go comment, go grow up, and get guffed.